This video is about me making the first 30 seconds of my animation. I'll begin where I left off with my previous video, where I had a character who turns 360 degrees. He now needs a different outfit, so I have to use Runway Gen4 again to create the consistent character as he turns around in loads of different standing positions. To begin with, I used PaintDotNet to shape the person, and then towards the end I used Photoshop to select that person in a nice way, because Photoshop's very good for just selecting an object and separating it out from its background. The character in my story needs to have a white leather jacket, and he needs to have a sword hanging from a belt that he's wearing until the time comes that he's actually using the sword. So I've had to use PaintDotNet to stick a head on an outfit. The outfit got made in Adobe Firefly, and I'm just using layers to stick bits together, and then I'm trying to draw things so that they look okay-ish. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for what I'm doing. And then once I was ready with that, the outfit needed a background color different to the colors of the outfit. The reason for this is that I plan to use my video editor to have layers where I can make all the blue disappear, and instead of it there can be a backdrop like a city or a mountain or whatever, and it works best when the background color has no similarity or very little similarity to the colors of the outfit and the person himself. And yeah, this took a really long time to do, in particular realizing that my earlier work had a sword with a tiny hilt caused by generative AI, and trying to get it to look reasonably okay for the animation that I'm designing. And I think that's an important point about using Runway. A lot of the work isn't even using Runway, it's using separate software for trying to get an image just right so that you can then upload the image. And then the other time-consuming aspect is so here I'm trying to rotate the person 360 degrees, and then I can take screenshots of that turn, and if the person's walking from behind, so you just see the person's back, it will be a consistent character back throughout the story, because I can upload the same back. It's that kind of idea of trying to keep things consistent. It's made this. Let's see if this works or not. Better than earlier, except he's not turning 360 degrees, but it could still be a useful video, so I will use it. I'll download that. I also want an art style to my story or animation. So in Adobe Firefly, I've been playing with the different effects. I've downloaded this image, and even though I would like something that's even wider, I just wonder what will happen if I spend all day generating photos rather than actually making the film. Because it's the first frame or the first little bit of the story, first 5 seconds or 10 seconds, I've called it 01 and then a name that's meaningful. I've opened it up in PaintDotNet, where I'm going to apply the ink sketch effect, which is what I will be applying every time I have two layers, one layer with my character on and one layer with a location behind him. I will use this ink sketch effect to make it all look like it is one picture. So let's have a look at what it's done for me. Oh, that's much better than just me zooming in with my video editor. Ooh, that's really, really good stuff. And the other thing is it's gone into a different art style now. It started off with that art style and it's gone into a new art style. Therefore, I think I need to use keyframes in order to keep the style consistent. I just want to note how in Firefly, by ticking items on the left side sidebar, I made all these items appear at the bottom of the screen, which affect the drawing style, and it means that my prompts will tend towards a style of drawing, although there is still variety to pick and choose from. One of the options was only temporary. It's a macro view of the city, because otherwise I only saw a little bit of the city, and that macro option made it a really wide view of the city. But apart from that, the other options stay constant throughout. I use landscape as the type of picture. I use photo rather than art, because there are two options at the top of the side menu bar. And I'm tending to use a wide angle lens, but it depends on the part of the story that I'm in. Just a reminder that the initial text prompts for me to use in Firefly were suggested by ChatGPT, and so were the camera movements. And these camera movements are useless. I can delete those because I really need to keep my language very simple when I'm using Runway so that I can get things done at speed. A vibrant painted sign. So this is what's meant to be on the sign, but the AI doesn't realize that. Having skill with an image editor and with a video editor is really important. Yeah, the problem is I mentioned a sign and it's magicked one into existence. So I copy and paste this rectangular area and I drag it up to the top and drag it here, all in PaintDotNet, so that the sign is bigger now. And this art style being so sketchy and outline and abstract in nature means that when I zoom in, there's no noticeable loss of detail. And let's play it. Ooh, it's very weird. That gliding isn't what I was expecting at all. It's quite interesting, but basically fading things out while other things fade in works for me. Because I know the story, I know that eventually the camera ends up with a conversation between the dwarf and the character Mikester. And the Mikester character is meant to be up against a rough wooden wall, and this chap is meant to be at a table. So how best to do that? Within Firefly, because prompts aren't going to do that for me. Within Firefly, I want to edit this thing and do a generative fill. And what can I do? I can use expand. Let's see what happens. Well, I want Mike to be on the right of him. And I guess Mike will be a bit taller than him. And I'll use a prompt. So this is a medieval tap room with a wooden wall on the right side. The dwarf is sat at a table in a medieval tap room, there is a wooden wall on the right side. Generate. Not really what I wanted. Let's click on another suggestion. Another suggestion. I'll cancel out of that. There is a wooden wall. Keep it really simple. That's got potential. So I'll keep that. And is there a way to download it? I don't normally use this filter. Okay, this method, download, is here, so I click download. Now I'm in Photoshop, where one of the features, I think it's the crop tool, this thing, lets me widen things a bit. And then, do I just say done? Okay, I've widened things, but I thought it was going to generate something there as well. So I'll select everything. Now I'm sure I've done this wrong. I'm sure. I'm going to go back a few steps. Started there. What have we got? Crop tool. And then this generative expand button. I'll click that. And then generate. This is very similar to Firefly. They're both in the Adobe family. Okay, that's looking useful. I can put my character into that potentially within the story. I can say generative fill by clicking generative fill and then type in the dwarf has red legs and brown boots, has red trousers and brown boots. Generate. And again, I could live with it as it is. It's not the end of the world, but it just looks a bit odd. The only thing is, it uses up so much time trying to get things to a high level. And let's click to see more. And this is my folder where I took snapshots of the video where I rotate 360 degrees. So from one photo of me facing the front where I'd bolted on a particular outfit and sword, I got the Gen4 references of Runway to create a 360-degree turn. And now into the scene with the dwarf, I could add one of these images, such as this one. I think I have to click try it now over here for Gen4 because it's so new. So I need to upload my character. What are we saying here? We're saying that we've got our room, we've got Mike, and then in the text we can say Mike is in bar, bar, medieval bar. Mike is standing to the right of the door. The door is smoking a pipe. And that's just an image, so there's no duration to it. Click generate. So I'm not too sure what's going on here. Is this good or is it bad? It's good that it stuck me behind the bottles and that I am at the wooden wall, which is what I really wanted. It doesn't look as much like me as I had hoped. However, I'm going to click vary because it might be able to do better than that for me. I've changed the prompt because I think the sword and belt went missing, so I mentioned them to remind the AI that they matter. So once again, it's generating a picture of the dwarf in the bar with my character Mikester on the right. So let's look at these. Given that I said I'm facing the dwarf, not all the images involve that. So what have we got? I think the hand's not too sure what the hand's holding there. Is it two swords going on there? That looks interesting. It's got potential. That looks interesting. It's got potential. In PaintDotNet, I apply the ink sketch effect, which is great. I really like it. This artistic ink sketch that I showed you earlier. Saved. Come on. I keep meaning to take a break, but I'm really into this. It's better. I think that Fidget did cause a little bit of movement, so I can work with this and I will download it. But I'm curious now to know what Gen 4 would have done. I don't think I would use the Gen 4 very often because it takes a really long time to run. In the end, I used 10 seconds. I used an arch as part of what's going on, and that helped because it needed a midway item to help the continuation from one place to another. It's not brilliant, but it's good enough for me. However, there is a man sticking out of a barrel towards the end on the right, and I need to zoom in on my video editor so that nobody sees it. And I learned a new technique today. Apparently, if I line up, this is my new clip, and if I line it up next to what was happening there, just zoom in a bit. Apparently, if I go to in between the two and right click, there's apply default transitions. Let's do that again. Right click there, apply default transitions, and that will save me time with the fade from one scene to another. Well, with a bit of extra editing, this is where I've got to. And now I'm ready to use Act 1. I'm not sure that I covered keyframes in this video. All I've done is go into Gen 3 Turbo rather than the Gen 4. And I can have 3 images uploaded. The first image of the video, the final image of the video, and if you've got one, a middle image. And what's good is that the style that I begin with is encouraged to continue all the way to the end. What is difficult though is that it often does a transition fade, so you don't really see it, the camera going all the way from the first image all the way through to the final one. It often does a transition fade to make it all work. But to make that transition fade look nicer, you can have something descriptive in the middle of what's happening. So I've said that there's an arch, and because of me saying that there's an arch, it helps that 3D feeling that there is a movement happening from the first image through to the other one. I used camera glides right because I imagined that that would help the transition to happen, but as you can see, nothing really glides right. So I think I need to experiment more and learn more about this technique. What I did learn is that Runway has a help page to do with camera controls, and I've read it before but not paid an awful lot of attention. But it's really important to use the same vocabulary that they use. So they do have glides as a type of camera movement, and they strongly encourage to say something like wide angle, or to be quite descriptive of what you want the camera lens to be like as well. A big takeaway from all of this is that the first image that you put into the video generator is very important, and I took a location and the picture of my character, put them together. But if the style of the person is not the same as the style of the image, okay, I had a quick fix with ink sketch, but you might not have any interest in ink sketch. What you can do is upload that image to software that can apply a consistent style to the whole image, or perhaps you could apply the special style to just an image of the person and then introduce it to the location that has the same style. And a really good tool for changing the style of a single image is ChatGPT, where one of the features, I think this plus button, lets me upload from my computer an image, and before you ask it to do something, before you ask it to change the image, you can tell it the art style, the exact art style that you're interested in, using sentences that have different information about the art style, similar to how Adobe Firefly had all of those left sidebar options. Another type of software for changing style is where you upload an example of the style and you upload your image. I'm not sure if Runway does that just for images, but certainly if you ask it to make a video, you can give it a style reference image for the first frame and it will apply it. So that's another approach to getting a single style into your first image.